All right, everybody, welcome on back to your irregularly scheduled Madoka Magica Walpurgisnacht Rising movie for news update slash in-depth trailer analysis slash ASMR fest. It's good to be back with you once again. I know I haven't talked about Madoka Magica for over a year, but sometimes you just don't have anything to record a video about for 4 months and then do three separate videos in 2 days. Boy, um, but yeah, it felt really good to go through this one, get some new information about what's coming up, and like really dive in there again. Got my juices flowing. Hmm. So anyway, the backstory for this, or the information that we're starting with here, is that Aniplex held their yearly online PR event this afternoon in Japan, and you know, out of a 3 hour stream or whatever, there was less than 5 minutes of it. I kid you not, dedicated to Madoka Magica. Half of it was this new character reveal for the upcoming mobile game Exdra. So that's cool. I don't know. She speaks English. That's neat. But that's not why you're here. Exedra will be, I don't know. I'm sure we'll dive into that in some regard sometime in the future, but they showed us a new 30-second trailer for Walpurgisnacht Kaiten or Rising, and there's a lot. We're going to go through that, but just to get the other news out of the way, they're re-releasing the first three movies on 4K Blu-ray um, this January, which cool, right? Like I don't know, I wasn't like sitting here seething for like a higher visual quality of the original movies, but there you go. If you're a sucker, you'll buy it. Um, and then also, we've got a re release of Rebellion in Japanese theaters at the end of October. Okay, this one's a little weird for me, right? Because the information that we have surrounding the fourth movie is that it's going to come out winter 2025. Now, we all kind of assumed because they said winter 2024 and then bumped it to winter 2025 with no fanfare very recently. We assumed that winter 2025 means like Christmas of 2025. However, they are re-releasing Rebellion for 1 week in Japanese theaters, and yes, I will almost certainly be going to see this movie that I've seen like 20 times already. Um, just because they're going to give me a little shikishi or some dumb postcard when I go into the theater, and I'm a sucker too, so we can be suckers together. And I'm in Japan, so I'll take advantage of it while I'm here. Um, but yeah, why release Rebellion in October 2024 if you are not planning to release the fifth movie, or the fourth movie in January or February of 2025? And we don't have a release date for the movie. We didn't get one after the trailer still says winter 2025. But it may, I think one of my takeaways from this event is we may be a bit closer than we thought we were with the release of Walpurgisnacht Rising, and we'll certainly get into that when we look at the trailer analysis too. Here, there's like so much that I can see in this that shows me that the movie is a heck of a lot closer to being finished than it was at the time of last year when I made my news update video for the last trailer. Um, so anyway, without any further ado and without any more speculation, I have the video file for the Walpurgisnacht trailer rising Walpurgisnacht Rising trailer right here, and we're gonna go frame by frame on this one because that's what we do on this channel. If you guys aren't familiar with me or who I am, my name is Clear and Sweet, and I am responsible or the person to be held accountable for talking way too much about Madoka Magica. You can check out the playlist. I'm sure I'll link it at the end of this video of me talking for some 16 and a half hours about Madoka Magica in depth, shot by shot, scene by scene. If you like this type of content, I would encourage you to go back and watch all that stuff, and my video about Rebellion to talk about prepping for the fourth movie, if it is indeed coming out. January or February 2025. But anyway, getting into the trailer that was recently released some 2 3 hours ago. Um, Again, 30 seconds, but very dense. I think there's a lot here that's at least worth talking about. Hey everybody, post editing Kai here. I was using the keyboard controls to control the film, and whenever I did that, the audio didn't record for whatever goddamn reason. So I'm going back and editing post to give it the proper context. Here, I'm just talking about how I'm using the video downloaded locally, which apparently was a mistake. To be Home Lucifer, I don't believe we see any shots of what I deemed as Homer Prime in the previous breakdown video for the trailer. We can pretty clearly see here that there's some railing, that it's a type of cage situation. We see birdcage symbology a couple other places in the trailer, this trailer itself. So I'm led to believe that, you know, the caged bird with Home Lucifer here. Now, a couple things that you may notice. Umbra has never had curly bangs. She's never had that type of situation going for her. Her hair has always been very straight, and that's something that comes up later. But it's very weird that we do see the little curly on the front there, and she's wearing Madoka's red ribbon. Also has the ring on her finger. Also has this new black collar that we don't really understand yet. Go quickly then into a shot of her dancing with Madoka. Madoka having the red ribbons in this case. Turnaround shot on the background art here. You'll notice the kitchen with the island, and what you can see there is Tatsuya's high chair. So this presumably is Madoka. Also, ooh, look at this in the background. Do you see that little staircase that leads to nowhere right there? That kind of in the bottom left-hand corner. Not really a staircase, more of a shelf. But that was symbology that we saw all over the place in Madoka's house in the original series. So pretty strong indication that this is Madoka's kitchen slash living room. Not that that's here nor there, and that's kind of what we would expect from the end of Rebellion and where Rebellion left off, but, you know, you're here for the super detail. In this shot, Madoka seems to be out of control, right? So that's like what we would expect, again, from where Rebellion left off in the last scene of the panicked expression in Homus for taking advantage of her. I don't know, what do you want to say? Like, imposing her will on the Madoka, and Madoka just confused and going along with it. And this is such an intimate scene. It really matches with the possessive nature that we saw of Homucifer at the end of Rebellion and everything associated with her. So nothing's really out of the ordinary here. We see this black collar and novel headband that we haven't really seen with Homucifer yet. And that's fine. Yeah, I don't think we always need to see Homucifer associated with the red ribbon and the difference between her and Homer Prime, like we talked about in my first trailer breakdown. Um, it's just that, like, we can pretty easily tie this to Homucifer because of all the contextual information from Homucifer and how she's behaving and how she behaved at the end of Rebellion. And, you know, this would be a good place to assume where a fan would come into the Madoka Magica, um, or the fans' understanding of Madoka Magica would be at this point, right? At the end of Rebellion, this matches what we think of when we talk about the end of Rebellion. So this pretty normal first two shots, right? I guess the idea that Homucifer is caged, right, in this beginning shot here, like that can be seen as kind of a bit weird if she's the all-powerful devil manipulator of the entire world, maybe. Um, but I think that even that's kind of generally in line with the position that she paints herself in at the end of Rebellion, and just the general symbol of falling associated with her. Conditioning cooling fans, um, having any eyes, or any witch that has this type of design, the light cutting it in half either. mm, Boy, I am absolutely bereft of meaning. Even the bandages, the pink bandages, you know, what are we saying here? There is some symbology later in the trailer about like broken things and repairing them and mending them, but an air conditioner fan is like not one of the things that we're, you know, currently associating being broken with. But it's really nice because we have this brilliant match cut with the eye in the center of the Homolili's familiar, right? Now, I just thought of this. Wasn't in my notes, but let's come back to the orange hair here on this familiar because that could be something very interesting to make a hypothesis about. But Homolili's familiars again, not weird. It clearly does reflect the eye drawing that we kind of see here on this fan. So maybe you could say something about how the familiars are like kind of passively watching. Um, but the familiars, Homo Lily's familiars, were in trailer one, and they were at the end of Rebellion. So, like, I don't know that whether or not they are on Homucifer's side or they are agents of Homura Prime or Madoka or anything like that, I guess we'll have to see. I do have a budding theory coming up on this, but that I'll get to later. But the just seeing Homo Lily's familiars here is not weird at all. But they do seem to be watching. They do seem to be very intently noticing what's going on in the story that Homucifer is writing. Like, here we go. This one's pretty cute, and this is the first shot that's like really telling me something, right? Um, do, Dume, Dume. I'm sorry for my German fans out there who know how to pronounce this word accurately. Dume Venus. Dume is German for dumb. So there you go. Stupid Venus. Hmm. So it's Homer looking at her Homucifer, right? We're associating this with Homucifer. Note she doesn't have the black collar here, and her headband is a bit different. It doesn't have that single stripe through it, but I still associate this with Homucifer. Um, and she's looking as if she's not pretty enough, right? This is a common trope that you see in a lot of visual narrative media where the girl opens her compact mirror and that's a reflection of her looking at her beauty and saying, "Oh, I'm not physically attractive enough." And in this shot, we notice that Homer's bangs are not curled. Yeah, are you ready for that? Am I blowing your mind here? That I will definitively, first prediction, go out on the limb and say we will definitively get Homucifer using a hair curler to some degree somewhere in Walpurgisnacht Rising. There you go. That's a big call out. When your girlfriend is God, you have to keep up appearances. Uh, some other stuff about this, the connection to the Greek god of Venus being born of the seashell and the compact being in a seashell type um, type pattern. I don't know that there's a big connection there, right? Like Venus born of sea foam notoriously does not have parentage, um, and coming out naked. Um, I don't see the parallels here with Homucifer, who's much more of not innocent, uh, has more consequences to her actions, right? But I guess the connection is the goddess of love, right? That everything Homucifer did she did for love, but in a very kind of stupid way. And I'll not get into a big reading on rebellion or Homucifer's actions in rebellion. You can go watch my video or watch other people's takes on that. I'm sure you all have your own. But just a good shot with lots of information. Okay, here we have the interior of the cage. Again, you can draw this a million of connections back here. You can, like, I don't know, you can go Bakemonogatari, right? Like it's like Shinbo, right? Um I go Penguin Drum. I think this is or Utna, the spiral staircase there, and those can be, indirect influences all the way down. Um, but the cage does look like a bird cage, and these symbols on the left and the right, I believe, I was not able to confirm this. So if you were able to confirm this, comment down below that these are associated with Homucifer's feathers, um, because the tips of the feathers kind of look like these symbols. Anyway, this is pretty clearly the cage that we saw Homucifer falling down in the first shot. We even see the railing in that first shot. Um, and we also have a ton of spiral symbology, right? Like happening again and again. repetition. We're going back and revisiting the series. We're bringing back Walpurgis. Like we're retelling this story. Like very clearly involved with some type of repetition and spiral symbology. This next shot is one of the ones that leads me to believe that this trailer is a little bit further along than we might be expecting. Or that, I don't know, it doesn't look like it needs another year of work, at least on these shots. The compositing, the lens flares, the After Effects work on these shots. And the other thing I quickly want to mention is that Yuki Kajiura is just ripping. She is just on fire in everything we've heard for Walpurgisnacht Rising. And, that's not out of the ordinary for her, but it's so cool. Oh, good. And, Rebellion just already a fire soundtrack. And you can go back to Dot Hack Sign and all that, and Kajiura is killing it. But we've got some intense strings in the on the soundtrack for this one. I'm not gonna play it. I'll get claimed. I'll get demonetized. But definitely looking forward to listening to the OST on repeat. Check out the tonal and color contrast between these two shots here. It goes from the rising balloons to the falling Homucifer. And, the sky and the pastels and everything to the browns and the blacks here. It's like really stark and really cool. Probably the shot of the trailer. Really here the most clear representation we have of Homucifer, very obviously defeated and falling. With the balloons were rising up to the sky, the color, Lucifer falling down to the city, being defeated. You can literally see her right wing is clipped, even her shoes undone. I don't recall that ribbon on her leg. That's actually very interesting. I had not thought about that. But yeah, some type of mid-air battle, some type of, I don't know, what do we want to say? But the entire theme of all of this is Lucifer brought low or falling. Um, and then, like we said, is a continuation off the very last after the credit scene of Rebellion, but also just what she did. She's the devil, the Lucifer connotation, right? Oh yeah, Madoka's line here. I don't have the subtitles on this because I ripped it off YouTube, but Madoka's line here is that hope will always follow you, and she uses the homoni, like it's always going to be with you, present alongside of you, right? Um, and I love there is nothing that gets me more hyped than the indomitability of hope. Like in my breakdown series, this is a large part of what I talked about. Absolutely go watch episode 12's one again. Um, it's just it's just so cool for me. The 10 years later, after the Homosifer ending we got with Rebellion, to just get this and just hear Aoi Yuki just go off and like you can't escape hope. There's you cannot give up. You cannot find a place where you can die in vain, right? You can be worthless. And that's like, ooh, that gets me so absolutely pumped than the indomitability of hope. And it also kind of goes back to the first trailer and the reading that Homer Prime, along with the other girls, managed to bind Homucifer. So if I had to say anything, I bet this battle with Homucifer happens pretty early in the movie. That they get her and get her trapped and like defeat her, physically, and then I think defeating Homucifer through understanding her is the course of the movie, right? Like I think if there's a big final battle and then they just defeat Homura physically and then we win the day via magical powers pulled out of our ass, then it's not really a magical girl show and it's not really the point of the entire thing, is it? Also, this next shot of Madoka is just, I don't know, she's here. She's a full close up of Madoka. She's eating something. It's nice. She's happy. She's present. We see similar shots later on of Mommy and the rest. This is a very interesting shot, but let's get the context for what we're looking at first and then come back to this. Okay, so we've got this girl. don't know this girl. If she's in the extended media, if she's like a rare pull in the first Madoka Gotcha game, then let me know. I did not see her. I'm not familiar with her in um, Magia Record or any of the extended universes, but it could be. My knowledge is not comprehensive. I rely on you guys. Leave a comment below if you know this girl or the orange-haired girl that we'll see in a minute. We've got the lotus here. That's I didn't think about that, but that's kind of a Buddhist symbol, right? That it has that type of idea, and we do see Madokami associated with Amida Buddhist procession to heaven stuff in Rebellion. So perhaps that's a another callback on those water lilies. Okay, so what we have here is a mended glass cup mended with gold, and this is the kintsugi, right? Is the Japanese practice of taking a broken thing and mending it with some type of enamel mixed with gold or platinum or any other material. And then the concept behind kintsugi is that by breaking it and mending it, it's almost better than an original thing, right? Than a perfect or pristine thing. And I think you could very easily tie this into the themes of Lucifer and Lucifer's actions and where we're going with on this film. But reflecting that here is pretty clear, pretty straightforward. But it goes a level deeper because in here we see, the coffee table and the two chairs, and this reflective of that exact scene from Rebellion, the scene with Kyoko, where she Homura talks to Kyoko in Rebellion in the same type of big garden caged thing, and they have the coffee in the chairs and the table. So I think that's kind of what the symbol is saying here, that the miniature in the coffee cup is reflective of the previous conversation in Rebellion that was held in the exact same place, in the exact same way, and where Homer made, decisions to try and break out of her cage witch thing to try and poke at the system that she's in. So here we've got a repetition. Hey, this is familiar, right? We see this, right? And we're in the point of view of Lucifer too, so that's kind of pretty interesting if you think about it. Or not Lucifer, I guess it would be Homer at this point. Um, but yeah, like giving Homer another chance to live out her actions in Rebellion. And perhaps like, when I talked about Rebellion in my breakdown series, I was like, well, I'll make another video about how we could rewrite Rebellion to make it jive or make it work without Homosphere, or with Homosphere, because the one I made was without Homosphere. So I think that maybe Urobuchi is coming at this with the same type of idea in mind, like very informed by the things that happened in Rebellion and those small little moments, and the visual symbology there, and trying to say we're repeating this, we're giving it another go, we're giving it another shot. Note, I have not seen any promotional material, interviews, anything with anybody on the staff, anybody on Shaft, any word from anybody at the studio. And these are things that would come across my radar, being somebody tuned into the Madoka Magica sphere and living in Japan. But there's nothing, no promo material, um, no TV show special. Oh, we got Akiyuki Shimbo here to talk about, etc., etc., etc. None of that. So I think they're being very closed-lipped, and I would expect when interviews do come out that they would contain this type of like, oh yeah, we're talking now about how we wanted to think about Rebellion 10 years after the fact, 11 years after the fact, and what do we want it to do, right? Uh, and for them, meta narrative stuff is not something. It's not a very foreign thing to when we talk about Madoka Magica. In fact, that's kind of the exactly the thing. But this this desire of the creators to go back and change and mend and fix what they did in Rebellion. This shot of Nagisa, like really reflective on the balloons rising and all the multicolored in the balloons rising, and we'll see that later when we see Mommy and other shots too that just this vibrant pastel happiness. Look how happy Nagisa is. Like, come on, are you kidding me? This has to be a positive thing, right? And Madoka's going on all on about like the indomitability of hope here, like how you can't outrun hope. Um, and yeah, seeing the ball pit thing here just gives me a big like, okay, Nagisa is still working as an angel of Madoka, or is on Madoka's side, and or a Madoka, um, a aligned person. And I don't know why we would use Nagisa to be anything other than that. Another shot of this girl elsewhere in the thing, and we don't know this girl. Again, I'm not familiar with this girl. If you know this girl, tell me I'm wrong, and I will make a video correcting it. Um, this girl seems to be positioned in exactly the same way as Nagisa, which we have no reason to believe Nagisa would be anything other than an angel of Madoka. So the connection there is that this girl is also aligned with Madoka and Madoka's values of eternal compassion and hope. Um, Look at that lens flare. Look at the post process. This is why I'm saying like this movie looks a little bit further along than I would think, because look at the post processing lens flare on all these balls. Anyway, this girl, why does she have a different role than the green haired girl? That's the first question. She ostensibly looks young, and we also see her later in the thing with Cube. So I think we're meant to believe at this point in the trailer that this girl is associated with Madoka in the same way that Nagisa would be. Um, and it's not just a simple innocent. It is a hell of a shot. I don't know how to zoom in on NPC, but I zoomed in my on my own and took a look at this, just to see all the detail here. What we've got is just ream after ream, I don't know, row after row, file after file of books. These are books encased in enamel or some type of glass or something of the sort. And we have endless rows. The ones in the background, too, are all books. They're all books. Nothing we can see written on them, but, books. A big symbol in this trailer and in the previous trailer, which wasn't that big of a symbol in Madoka Magic itself, the series. So, gotta have some meaning here. But we can see Sayaka walking with the bandages on her face, walking below this huge feminine statue, right? Now, the book's stuck in enamel. That I'm going to read this in the same way that I read the chairs, the empty chairs in Madoka Magica, the series, because the easiest way for me to understand this is like a series of other magical girl stories, or the other things that have happened in the past, the various, the multiverse of the magical girl canon, and um, how none of them could escape fate, and Sayaka being here, I guess presents the idea that she's aware of all the other magical girl stories and all the other magical girl twists and turns, and the history of everything, and all the knowledge, which tracks exactly with what Sayaka was as a person in the original series, and why she would want to find out more. Um, the other thing that I'll say here, boy, this reminds me of Penguin Drum so incredibly much. I know it's not related. I have no direct way of tying anything Akiyuki Shinbo's done into Kunihiko Ikahara, but there is a huge statue um, in an episode of Penguin Drum, and there's the library in Penguin Drum that has the exact same thing going on with the books and the different stories of different world lines and different things that happened, and changing fate, and repeating things over and over again. And yeah, but one last thing we'll say before we move on from this shot. um, Order. This is a very ordered thing, whereas we will see some books being dishelved and not in their correct places later on. And we saw that in the first trailer too. And also in the internals of the statue, we have a bunch of spirals, looks like springs, right? Coils, I suppose I would say. Um, I can't read heads or tails of the pose. I don't recall any pose from Madoka Magica that this statue could be imitating. No, no, I'm not seeing it. It's not coming to me. But the coil symbology, I think, maybe just visually interesting. Maybe Gekinani and Ukuri just doing what they do. The visual style of Madoka needs to be evocative of Madoka, and needs to feel like Madoka visually. But also the spiral symbology is what we were talking about with the staircase earlier, that it just wraps around again and again and again, and we're repeating the same story, etc., etc., etc. Obligatory almost mommy shot associated almost with the same colors as the ball pit and everything. Mommy's back, she's in this film, she's here. There's a Kyoko one where she's eating later, so we've got Madoka and mommy and Kyoko, but this one's not that heavy on visual information. And then we move into this one. Hmm. Oh, okay. So over the yes, let me keep you up to date on what Madoka is saying here. Madoka calls out in this scene over this the feathers breaking out of these pillows. Madoka called out your wished for miracle. Not right now. Wish for something, or to like to be fulfilled. To be fulfilled miracle. Um, surely guide us. Will give us guidance. Right? She's saying that wish for miracle, and she says she marks it with wa, right? So it's like that is the thing that's doing the guiding, the wished for miracle, or the fulfilled miracle. Um, will and she says what tashi tachi, so like us, collective second person, noun or pronoun of like will guide us, right? Will give us guidance. I suppose she uses kureru. Um, so that's just vague enough to be like in line with whatever Madoka's probably talking to Homosifer, right? And like you could very easily read that as Madoka like rebelling against Homosifer's order, right? And yeah, that's what we would expect. Um, so I think the simplest reading is just like uh, knowing the feelings of your heart, Homura. It's going to lead us to a place where we can solve this situation. So feathers, specifically white feathers. I don't know really why they weren't a big symbol in the original series. Madokami does not even have feathers on her wings, right? So white feathers specifically, I can only read them in the contrast with Homucifer's dark feathers, right? And that's the end, the last shot of this trailer. We see a white feather fading to black. Um, but like the bursting out white feathers is always associated with purity and with with Madoka's line over this of hope, or the will guide us, or everything she's saying. It's like bursting forth, that idea that hope's going to burst forth and overwhelm, and mapping the semiotics of the white feather onto Madoka's concept of hope seems pretty strong. Yeah, I don't know, and Home Lucifer's dark feathers could probably be the contrast to that, and what the movie's going to do with this feather symbology. Um, Yoko's in this movie. That's cool. She got an ice cream taco. Is that what? Got pink ice cream. It's a blue taco. Cool, cool. And then you remember Kyoko? Like, yeah. All right, here we got this book symbolism, right? But here the books are associated with the witches and all the witch scroll in the labyrinth, right? So what this I read is, and in the earlier book theme too, is that this is the information and recollection. If you remember at the end of Rebellion that almost for wipes everybody's memories, but the witches obviously are going to come back in some way. I mean, the movie's called Walpurgisnacht Rising, right? So they're going to be relevant in some way, and having these books be the symbolic way that the witches come back into force, and that everybody's reminded of the witches feels pretty strong. Also, the I think this trailer really gives us more information about that first trailer and the pile of spiraling books that Home Lucifer was locked under, right? We were kind of like, what's with all the paper and everything? But this kind of gives us that idea that the witches and everything relating to the histories of the past magical girls and all their efforts and everything is contained in these books. These stories still exist, and these memories still exist, and it's just coming out. Funny shot from the trailer right here. So we see Sayako with the bandages, right, and the bow in her hair. Which again, I said in the last one, don't have a reading for the bandages or her healing powers. What I'm sure it's going to be a big reveal later on. She reveals her left eye, and it's got the it's the Chunibyo thing where she can shoot laser beams out of it or some shit like Mikuru. Uh, the right light. Did that get you? Sorry if you were watching um in the dark. Boom. White light. What's that? Octavia's tail. What's that? That's where she remembers seeing Kyosuke. Right? Gone too far. Yeah, this is like 4 frames. Like having a revelation being delivered in a flash is not a very difficult symbol to understand. That's very, very clear. In this scene, Saiko was always watching something. She was watching Kyosuke. So having now in a flash Octavia and the memories of Kyosuke being delivered back to her, um, this falls in line with everything we were talking about with her browsing through the past witch history. That she may be the catalyst by which we unravel Homucifer's world. That was how she was positioned at the end of Rebellion. That was also, true to her characterization of one distrusting Homura, but also um, completely diving more into things. Or she's what I called, I believe, the smartest magical girl that we see in the show. That she's wants to figure things out, and she could be the perfect vehicle by which the story goes about telling us how the other girls are trying to solve for Homucifer's new world. And I like that for her. I mean, she's one of the biggest successes of Madoka Magica, right? It's it's pretty clear um, that Bandage Sayaka is going to have a lot to show us in this. So here we've got the same orange haired girl from earlier. We see the one little hair that's longer than her little curled tails. Um, but what do you notice when you look at this, right? You're looking at Cube, wrong, wrong. You're bad. You've not done enough visual, analysis. If you're looking straight at Cube and you're like, oh no, Cube's back, wrong, false. Orange-haired girl. We saw her earlier. What she was associated with goodness, with Madoka's hope, and the bubbles in the ball pit playing with Nagisa, pure, innocent, right? In this shot, what do we see? Her eyes are out of frame. She's got an evil smile. What what's going on with that? Why is she positioned with Cube, who we know to be very evil, right? Okay. Now what are we looking at? What are we looking at? Where's the last thing in the shot? Come on, people. Your eyes are going to those books in the background, right? That's exactly right. Those books are not in order. Those books are disheveled. They are not taken care of. They are not respected. They are not put in their place and valued. They are thrown about, strewn about on the floor. So, what you're reading on this character, on the orange haired character, oh, we saw she was so innocent earlier, right? But here, she is coded as a villain. Okay? Right? Now, this was just watching this through. The only other orange haired anything that we've ever seen is that Homucifer's familiar from the first scene. And I was like, oh boy, oh boy. That's a pretty strong connection. Maybe, maybe. So yeah, hot take. I'll bet money on this one. Actually, I would bet money that this character is Homo Lily's familiar, and she's working with Homucifer, and she betrays the other girls. Yeah, that's my reading on this character. Like just seeing this shot alone, I'm saying this character this character also, we don't really know the function of Walpurgis, and I'll make a reading on that too at the end. But if Walpurgis is still an enemy character, then this character could be revealed to be Walpurgis in some way, or you know functionally antagonistic to the goals of the Mado Kami, I believe, and aligned with Homucifer. Yep, that's my reading. There you go. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying betrayal character. You think she's innocent. You think she's Nagisa in the beginning, and then it turns out, oh, gotcha, Gucci bitches. All right, this is one of the last shots we have in the trailer. The salamander, always associated with Homucifer or Homo Lily, I guess, turning into the witch. Well, I don't know. You get the salamander squashed when Homo Lily is manifest, and we see the salamander in the first trailer associated with Homucifer too. So I don't know how muddied this symbolism is. I watched a video a while back. One of you made a great rebellion reading, and you talked about the salamander and being immune to fire and things like that. And um, the salamander is a pretty deep symbol, but it's Homura, right? In some way, shape, or form, I would say Homucifer. Just going by with that first shot of trailer one, where the salamander crawls up her arm. So I would say this salamander, again, Homucifer, right? The other thing that really stands out here is um, this brittle blade, with very dirty, right? With many chips in it. Well, okay, I'm out on a limb here because we never see them having tea together, but there's only one character that we've seen using a bladed weapon like this, and that character also coincidentally is full of bandages and very heavily damaged, ostensibly. So I would say this is Sayaka doing the stabbing on Homura. And again, everything we know about the character dynamics right now makes sense with that. I don't have much of a reading on the blood coming out or anything like that. Ostensibly, though, this is Homucifer, right? We see the tea set, and well, she has this like big glass at the end of Rebellion with the two straws in it, a big juice glass that overflows. This is a tea set, so we can't really get a lot of visual information here. But it could also, theoretically be the orange-haired girl, right? Of like, if she is associated with Lucifer, that this is like stabbing that, the symbol of that, and finding out that she's she's associated with her. Either way, I think Sayaka is doing the stabbing, and yeah, then clearly represents Lucifer, and there's going to be some type of confrontation. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think this series is shallow enough to just have a battle be the final way of resolving everything. But then again, I didn't think the series was crazy enough to do something like Homo's verse in the first place at all. So whatever. Moving on to the white feathers, and a symbol we've already talked a lot about, the purity and everything, but here we see the inverse of what we would expect. If we are purifying or reconciling Homura, then we would expect dark feathers turning into light. But here we have the inverse. We have a light feather turning into dark. I read this primarily as like the betrayal, right? Like everything that we just saw of the orange haired girl betraying the other girls, and um, that there's still some darkness, and then maybe the final resolution is overcoming that. Maybe this is indicative of the twist. Like this whole trailer is supposed to get us hyped up for Madoka's overpowering hope, and we're gonna cleanse Lucifer, and she's defeated. And then, oh, the white feathers spring out, but then the dark feathers come back, and you've played right into Lucifer's trap the entire time. Keikaku Tori, fucking psychopaths. Um, and then, but then the other, you've got another trump card. Just when you're like, oh no, she did it again. Lucifer devastated all of our hope and destroyed us, and then they're like, oh, but we were, checkmate, Lucifer, and then I don't know, Walpurgisnacht shows up or something. What do we got? Salamander stabbed. I think I talked about everything in my notes here. Unanswered questions. What did we not see in this trailer? We have not seen the girl with the bow from trailer one that we were very confused about. The girl that was probably not, Madoka or Homura. She seemed really important. Like what's happening with her? That character, the hairstyle did not match. We didn't see any characters wielding a bow here. Um, I kind of think it leads more credence to the speculation that we've been talking about with like that character being either a fusion of magical girls, or like uh, the personification of Walpurgisnacht when she was a magical girl. Um, Again, yeah, this film is called, Walpurgisnacht Rising. Her name is right in the title, and we haven't heard anything. We've heard nothing, and we know nothing about how Walpurgisnacht is connected to any of this. The only thing we know about Walpurgisnacht comes from the original series, where it's a collection of magical girls. We have not learned anything, anything at all about Walpurgisnacht. So Walpurgisnacht being absent and that other character being absent. Hmm. So this kind of like leads me to believe Walpurgisnacht is maybe like the trump card at the end. Like you watch an hour and a half of the movie, and then it's like, oh, did you forget this movie was called Walpurgisnacht? And like, oh, maybe Walpurgisnacht is um used as the hope bomb. Maybe it is a conglomeration of magical girls, like it was stated to be in the original series, but it's an agent of Madoka, right? Or it's like the law of the cycles, predestined that we all, or it's like a spirit bomb, in which form the witch is the agent of hope, or I don't know. I'm see right like call me up, Robucci. I got it. Anyway, we also didn't see any Homer Prime in this trailer. I don't think there was any shots that were indicative of all of Homer Prime. And that's a big deal because she's on the trailer for this movie. Like she's clearly not being written out of the, or not the trailer, but the poster of the film. So she's clearly not been written out of the movie. Um and everything we saw in the first iteration of the trailer like still leads me to believe we will witness Homer Prime fight Homucifer. Um but like this trailer didn't have anything to do with it, you know. And the last thing is the release date. Like I don't know. There seemed to be a lot in this trailer that they they seemed ready. They seemed ready to release this in a way that trailer one was not. Trailer one had a lot of like old footage. It had a lot of kind of not pristine shots, not really finished shots. And then this feels to me more like a done thing. This feels like there's post processing on this. This feels like we have done the thing and we have made the movie and now we're ready to show it. I guess you would go with more than a 30-second trailer, but I don't know that you need to, right? I think everybody's just as hyped for a 30-second super dense trailer than they would be for, another 2-minute trailer. So, um, yeah, that's my prediction. That's my prediction. I do think that we're going to see a marketing push here in the next, I don't know, 3 months or so, and we will see some more um, preview information. Now, if you remember, they were very tight-lipped about the original production of Madoka Magica, and that it's like super scare quotes, a dark magical girl, etc., situation, right? And that Urobuchi wasn't even attached to the project until episode 3 aired and all that stuff. So, what I'm saying is that I don't think Shaft has any problems shutting the hell up until it's ready to be done and it's ready to make this marketing push. And I don't think it's like something, I came to Japan and I saw all this marketing for the Spy Family movie right last winter, and it was like everywhere. It's like, there's a tie-in at the local cafe, getting your Anya parfait and all that stuff. Um, but I think that this one's going to be more of like we will wait, then we will merchandise. But having the thing that gets me is just like having the Rebellion in theaters again in October, at the end of October into, yeah, for 1 week into like November. Like I don't know, even if you're doing a kind of like low key marketing push for your new big movie, releasing the prequel in October and then releasing the main thing in January, that seems weird. I don't know. Maybe this is just something to bump the financials on Aniplex for the next fiscal quarter or something. Maybe I'm being baited. Maybe, but it's like, um, yeah, I guess you can release something 6 months before it or a year before you plan on releasing the next film. But to me, that still seems odd. You want the hype to be peaking right around when you release the movie, so that like everybody's got Madoka on their minds right when the Blu-ray releases come out, right? So that to me says like your sales of these 4K Blu-rays are like 1/20th the amount if you do not release Walpurgisnacht Rising in the same time frame. And maybe that's it. Maybe they do that. I'm still actually holding out hope for a January February release of Walpurgisnacht Rising instead of the December 2025 one that we are expecting currently. So there you have it. Boy, I hope this was all recording in OBS. Let's check. Yep, sure was. Great. That's all I've got for you today. Do please, I my Madoka Magica series analysis videos, all 16 hours of them, they have like 8K views or something. And my last, trailer breakdown video got 40K or something. So I know you all are fake as hell. So first off, subscribe for all the coverage of Madoka Magical Walpurgisnacht Rising. I'm gonna interview tons of people, get their takes on the film. It's gonna be a lot of content on the channel. Subscribe for that, and then go watch that old content because, like, what are you doing if you liked any of this information or my what I was talking about? So big coverage when we learn more. I'm just getting this video out the day it's released. I love you all a long time. Just go about your daily lives and know that you can never hope will always be with you. Sounds threatening, doesn't it? I suppose we'll talk about that some other time.